Welcome into episode 10 of the North American Hockey League podcast, Short Shifts. We're in the double digits now.
10.
10. We're in 10.
10.
Episode 10. Thanks for sticking with us. We know it's been a minute, and we have a lot to talk about in a short amount of time. Playoffs, Vinny, are right around the corner? May, middle of May, beginning of May? No, this month, April.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Even better.
Middle of May, we'll have a champion. So, yeah.
We'll have a champion. Yeah.
So I knew your head was going.
It was, yeah. It's just getting too quick for me. But we've had a handful of teams clinch some spots. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams so far have clinched spots in the 2023 Robertson Cup playoffs. Let's just get things going right away with the Central Division. Austin Bruins holding on to that top spot. The only team, by the way, that's clinched in the Central Division because it's so tight. They come in with 75 points, 14-3-6 record, 5-3-0-2 in their past 10 games. I'm just going to leave it there at the Austin Bruins are atop of the Central and the only team clinched. Then we'll kind of talk about the teams behind them.
Second place, St. Cloud. Third place, North Iowa. Fourth place, Minot. At the moment, Aberdeen in there as well. Bismarck. Northwood, 64 points. North Iowa, 61. Minot, 58. Aberdeen, 58. Bismarck, 56. 3 of those 5 teams are going to make it in the playoffs. 2 of them will be sitting from the sidelines in just a couple of weeks. We've got some great. Obviously, every game is important in that division. Right. But we'll have to kind of deep dive in that a little bit more later on once we get through all the teams that are in whatnot. But I mean, holy crap! I mean, I've been in this league for a handful of years now, and I can't think of a tighter race for everyone.
I mean, you can't. And the thing is, too, sorry to interject, is you can't say that anybody's eliminated yet. If you look at the South, you got 2 teams eliminated. You got teams in the East eliminated, but you got one team with 75 points and it goes 64, 61, 58, 58, 56. So the door is wide open right now in the Central Division.
Well, I mean, you're in last place. You're Bismarck. You're 2 points out.
Right.
Like that's one game. That's one win. You beat the right team. You're in the playoff picture again. And obviously, they need a little help. I mean, St. Cloud and North Iowa, I would say, obviously have the inside track, having at least a 3-point lead. In St. Cloud's case, a 6-point lead with only 2 weekends left. So, I mean, St. Cloud, I don't want to say they're safe because, they could lose the next 4 games and be out, but they look pretty good right now. North Iowa probably needs to win 2 of 4 to clinch their spot. And the other 3, got to hope and pray. I mean, and we'll, like I said, we'll kind of look at the schedule coming for these last 2 weekends and see who plays who. But I mean, golly, we've been saying all year though, this division's been like this all year.
100%. Yeah. Since day one. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Obviously, like you said, we'll kind of get into the matchups as this episode goes on, but right over now to the Eastern side, Maryland, they continue to dominate like we've talked about all year. They've had some hiccups. Yeah. But they're here. They've clinched that spot, 82 points. New Jersey, like we said, that hangover that they had, they are completely not hungover. I'll just leave it at that.
No, they've gotten a meal in. They've gotten some hydration. They're back.
They had a McDonald's Sprite to get them back to normal. So 2 of those 4 spots are taken, Maine and Northeast. I brought up Maine at the beginning of the year. I thought they're a contending team with some veteran presence. Currently tied for that 3rd place spot. But you look at the rest of it, Johnstown right behind them, 60 points. Philly and Danbury, 49 and 13 points. You could probably count those 2 out as eliminated from playoff contention. Yep. But obviously Maryland, New Jersey are in, but Maine, Northeast, and even Johnstown have the door wide open for those final spots.
So Maryland needs 1 win in their final weekend. They only have 2 games left. They need 1 win to clinch the division and get that home ice advantage throughout. New Jersey, pretty much, barring Maryland losing twice to Danbury and, New Jersey winning out, they're kind of locked in that 2nd spot. Maine and Northeast are really interesting. They're tied in points. Maine has 2 games in hand. Maine has lost 5 in a row.
Right.
It's not a good time to go on a losing streak.
No.
Johnstown is also very peculiar because they're back 5 points, but they have 3 games in hand on Northeast and 1 in Maine, and they also won 5 in a row. Their schedule coming up is not the easiest, but just say Northeast were to lose their last 2 games, or even say split, I mean, Johnstown wins 4 out of 5. Their last 5 games, they're in.
Right.
Like it's very weird to see Johnstown being 5 points out and somewhat having a little bit of control of their own destiny.
Yeah.
The max points for Johnstown, 5 points left or five games left is 70 points. They got 60. They can get 10. So they get 70 points. Northeast's max is only 69. So I mean, if Johnstown were to ride this out, they're in the playoffs. It's very strange to see a team that's, I don't want to say so far behind, but it's more than 2 games.
Right.
But they control their own destiny, and if they take care of business on their end, they're in the playoffs. And looking at the schedule as I pull it up here for Johnstown, let's see who they've got. I mean, they've got to have. I know Maryland's playing Danbury this weekend, so Johnstown has 3 against Philadelphia starting tonight, April 6th, the day we're recording.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got 2 home games against New Jersey. Now, here's the thing. Philly, obviously below them in the standings, ideally they are the better team, so they should win 2, if not 3 of those games. Just, if you're looking on paper, I know that's why we play the games and all that stuff, but New Jersey, will they have anything to play for next week?
I don't think so. I mean,
if
49
Maryland
points, 4 games left.
Maryland's going to clinch the division.
8.
Maryland's going to clinch the division. New Jersey's going to be tied in that, or they're going to be locked in that second spot. Is New Jersey going to are they going to rest guys, make sure they're healthy? I know New Jersey's on a winning streak. Do you mess with that? I'm very interested to see what Craig Doremus does.
Right.
In that final weekend, and that could open the door for Johnstown. Who knows? We saw the last spot for the Roberts Cup playoffs get clinched last year when Northeast beat Maine in overtime.
Yep.
So maybe it might be the same. It's the same thing next weekend. It's going to be a crazy finish at East Division when we kind of thought, we had those 4 teams set, but Johnstown making a run here late in the season.
Yeah, definitely. So like we've been saying, it'll be interesting to see how those pan out. Right now, over to the Midwest Division, Wisconsin and Minnesota, the only 2 teams that have clinched a spot. Wisconsin, 75 points. Minnesota Wilderness right behind them with 71. Behind them, though, it's pretty close for those last 2 spots. Again, a division that we've talked about all year that's back and forth pretty much. You got Chippewa, 64 points. Kenai River, 63. Fairbanks, 61. Anchorage, 59. Janesville, 55. And Springfield, 51. So, again, neck and neck. Final 2 spots up for grabs. It's going to be some key matchups, obviously, this weekend. But is Janesville and Springfield the team that you're going to kind of count out of this, or do they still have a chance?
No, they're both done at this point. Janesville, just the 2 games left. That does not help their cause. They will be done. But Anchorage and Fairbanks are the teams I'm looking out for. And I don't want to. I don't want this be considered that I'm bashing on a team, because I never want to like talk negative about a team. But it's just noteworthy that Fairbanks is most likely, barring winning their last 2 games and getting help, they are not going to make the postseason.
Right.
And that's never happened before in their history in the North American Hockey League. So they just hit them, and Dave Allison just parted ways mutually. Mm-hmm. So Rob Profit, the GM, he's going to be the interim head coach for the last weekend. Anchorage, 4 points back, 4 games left. They're playing against Kenai River. So, I mean, they're playing the team that they got to chase. So that's good, right. Big for them.
Yeah.
Fairbanks' max is 65. Chippewa, like we said, is at 64. Kenai 63. So only a handful of points that they need in order to, kick Fairbanks out. Anchorage, it was a fun story last year, the first season, them going all the way to the Robertson Cup, and they really never got it going this year.
No.
And kind of speak at their last 10 games, they're 5-5. They've been up and down. There's been weeks where they look like world beaters, and there's been weeks where they look like they don't belong in the postseason at all. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna find out what they're made of this weekend in a basically a winner go home style of game.
100%. So again, crazy matchups coming up, crazy division in the Midwest. Let's move over to the South. The division with the most teams clinched, by the way. They have 3 teams. Oklahoma Warriors have taken the title as the league's best with a 42-12 1-1 record, 86 points, named the regular season champions already in the North American Hockey League. Second behind them is Lone Star with 78 points, clinched as well, and Shreveport 75 as they've taken the 3rd place spot. So spot number 4 up for grabs. You have New Mexico 65, Amarillo 63, and you can throw in Odessa as well with 59. They all have the shot at that final spot. Eliminated from the playoffs in the South is El Paso and Corpus. New Mexico, like we all saw last year, came out of the South. I think Phil Fox on the bench is a huge driving piece of that team. Amarillo, though, they've been sneaky. Odessa, you never know what they can do either. And I'm not exactly sure of the exact matchups that'll round out this weekend and on to next weekend yet.
Yeah, we'll take a look at those in just a sec. But Odessa, they are on life support. 59 points, 4 games left, 8 possible points. So they can get to 67. New Mexico's at 65, so just a handful of wins from them eliminate the Jacks. I will say, though, Amarillo, 5-game winning streak at the right time. And
Right.
New Mexico, 5-game losing streak. And they just won, I believe, on Saturday. Or they won their last game. But prior to that, they had a 5-game losing streak. So New Mexico with a 2-point edge where it used to be, I think it was like 9 or 10 at some point. So Amarillo really making these last couple weeks interesting to say the least. It'll be a fun time to see. I know we talked about those matchups coming up this week. Odessa does play New Mexico.
Mhm.
So I mean, Odessa has to win. If
Yep.
they lose either of those games, they're done.
Yep.
And from Amarillo's standpoint, let's take a look at who they play this week. Amarillo will be going at home against Lone Star, a team that's a playoff team. They did sweep them earlier in Lone Star, so maybe there's a little confidence there. But that's a tough matchup for Amarillo, especially with their season on the line.
Yeah.
And then if you look ahead to next weekend, it will be Amarillo and Odessa, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. What that we kind of go back to that point we talked about in New Jersey. Will Oklahoma have anything to play for since they've already got home seed, number 1 overall seed locked up? I mean, and if they're nothing against Oklahoma, but I think right now they're playing, we'll call it their worst hockey of the year, being 6-4 in their last 10.
Right.
I mean,
Oh, it's
like,
safe.
yeah, like they're not maybe. And Coach Roth will want to have his guys, try to get them back out there and kind of figure it out, or they say, oh, we're banged up, let's get healthy before we begin this playoff run, because as we know, the Dirty South is a very physical place to play to begin with, and then you add in the playoffs factor, and it's just like, holy crap.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll round out kind of our standings and teams that are clinched right now. Vinny, if you want to pull out, I guess some matchups, key matchups that you have circled for this upcoming week.
Yeah, for this weekend only, in the Central, Bismarck and North Iowa go head to head. Fun fact, they played each other last weekend. Bismarck swept them. They play each other this weekend, and then they play each other next weekend as well. So rounding out the season with a 6-game back-to-back series with one team is certainly some kind of scheduling.
Nothing will boil over. Not at all.
No, Minot has Austin this week. So in their pursuits of a playoff spot, that means Aberdeen will take on St. Cloud. Then the following week, real quick in the Central, like I mentioned, it's Bismarck and North Iowa again, Minot and Austin again, and St. Cloud and Aberdeen again. So everyone's playing each other all different times. So Minot, I mean, just off the math there, has the toughest task playing the lone team that really has nothing to play for.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see how that Central Division shakes out. The East, like we said, Philadelphia's got Johnstown for a 3-game set this weekend. Johnstown's got to keep winning if they want a chance. Maine has Philadelphia next week in their last weekend, and then the Generals, like I said, only have 2 games left. So this weekend they will take on the Danbury Junior Hat Tricks. So they're hoping to get 2 wins this weekend. So obviously. That's the worst thing, right? When you have no control, you're just like, we'll wait and see.
Yep.
That awesome Midwest division we talked about, Wisconsin and Minnesota this weekend for probably the division title. If Wisconsin, I would say Wisconsin gets a sweep. They pretty much clinch it. It's 4 points.
They would
and
clinch it at 75-71.
Well, if they each get a win, that's 77 and 73. Minnesota have 4 points possible with 2 games left. It would go to how many wins they've got, but I mean, ideally, I think Wisconsin kind of wraps it up because they probably have to win 1 game the following weekend.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a big game in the Midwest. Like I mentioned, Kenai River against Anchorage. Anchorage is chasing Kenai River for that final playoff spot. And then Chippewa Fairbanks also comes up this weekend, where Fairbanks has to win. If Fairbanks doesn't win, they are done. So real simple scenario there. So almost like playoff hockey a little earlier out in the Midwest division.
Love it.
So a historic weekend in Janesville coming up. Annalise Bergman's going to get the start on Friday night against Springfield. When I say Friday night, I mean tomorrow, whereas we're recording on Thursday. But she was in the Jets main camp last summer, made it to the All-Star game where she earned an affiliate tag with the Janesville Jets. She's been playing her hockey this year with the Oakland Grizzlies 18U boys team.
Mhm.
She's posted a record of 16-9, the goals against of 208 this year, and a save percentage of 949. So, pretty good numbers
Not
competing against a top tier competition at the 18U level. So she represented Team USA at the Under 18 World Championships, got a bronze medal there in 2023, a silver medal in 2022, and just posted save percentages of 934, 932. So,
not bad.
she could play. She could play.
Yeah.
So historic weekend in the NHL. I know it's not going to have much to do with the Roberts Cup playoffs, but we have to mention it because it's a monumental moment in the league.
Yeah,
Honestly,
definitely. I agree. Congratulations to her as well.
I mentioned the South Division a little bit. There's only those two series. Odessa's got New Mexico this weekend, like I said. So winner go home for the Jacks there. Amarillo has Lone Star. The following week, Amarillo has Odessa. And if Odessa isn't eliminated, then it's still must win for them the following week, of course. And New Mexico would have Oklahoma, like we kind of talked about a little bit. What's Oklahoma got to play for? Will they, be sending out all their best guys? Will they
Right.
be starting their top netminder? A lot of questions there, and it's a lot of unknowns. But you know what? I do know one thing: you got to win when it's playoff season. You got to win.
Gotta win. Awesome. 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 Speaking of Oklahoma, our guest on today's episode, owner of the Oklahoma Warriors, Anne Choi. So we're going to send it over to her. Joined here with Anne Choi, the owner of the Oklahoma Warriors. Just wanted to, first off, we want to congratulate you in this historic season for your guys' team out there in Oklahoma City, but it's been crazy for you guys. So first off, welcome in episode 10 here of our podcast, and we're more than thrilled to have you here.
Thank you so much, Brandon and Vinny. I'm really pleased and happy to be here.
Let's kind of just jump right into this. Obviously you've been around this league for a while. You have some blood of your own that's played in this league. Your son Eric played in the NAL, and then just talk about how the experience was as a mother having a son playing in this league.
Oh, geez, it was hard. I'm not gonna fluff this. The 60 game season is really long, and one thing that you don't appreciate when you go through it, when you play youth, it's U14, U16, U18. So you're all playing against kids your own age or relatively around your age. And then once you make the jump into junior hockey, all of a sudden you're playing against kids 3-4 years older.
Right.
And that makes a huge difference. And so you may be a big fish on your U18 team. You come into juniors and boy, you're playing against a 20, 21-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So physically, emotionally, you're just maybe not quite there. And so, as a parent, you're also a little bit more involved in the youth hockey. You travel with the kids, you're kind of more intimately involved. And in juniors, you send them off.
Right.
And you hope you did your job as a parent and you just go and watch them play. And it's a whole different learning curve.
Yeah.
But one thing though, that I can say, it's the North American Hockey League 100% prepared my kid for the next level, because it's basically starting all over again. As a freshman in college, you're the youngest. You're playing against, well, now it could be 25-year-olds, right?
Grown men.
That post-grad year. And you're basically the bottom barrel, the youngest, maybe the not as mature kid. And I think the league has done a phenomenal job in preparing my kid, so now he can find success in college because he's been through it.
Right.
And I would not have appreciated that when we first started. I mean, we had no idea. We're just kind of muddling through it, praying he survives, and then now I realize that he did find success in college. He's one of the lucky ones who got a college commitment. Mm-hmm. And I think it's made a world of difference. I would not change a thing about what we did in the process we went through. The hardships made the big difference. He learned how to deal with all that. And I think we really prepared him. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say you loved it so much as a mom, then you transitioned into ownership. Like, what was that process like? And what was the first thing that said, yeah, I want to do this? Like you said, it's nerve wracking as a parent watching your kid going up against kids that are 2-3 years older than him. And then you're like, I really enjoy this. I'm going to keep going on, but I'm going to be even more involved.
Well, it is kind of crazy. People thought I was insane. Like, what are you doing trying to do something in a male dominated sport industry? But, in his last year, I actually started to meet some of the owners, and they were just normal people. They weren't these untouchables, and they cared so much about the players. And it made me feel like, wow, I can do this. And there's so many really high talented and qualified players out there. I mean, there are a ton, but there weren't that many places that you could really play that are meaningful. There's a lot of leagues out there, right? But there's only two that really matter, in my opinion. And, if I could help 21 more players, then, that's a good thing. And I just saw the impact and what it made for my family and my son, that I thought, if I could do it, then let me try, and it was a leap of faith in a way to see if I could do it. Cause like I said, like you guys said, I am, the typical hockey mom, and, they're crazy to think that I could try to do it. But I think the bottom line is, I think if you're passionate about it and you just do things the right way, you can accomplish anything.
100%. Let's kind of dive back to your son there. Obviously, we talked about learning and experience, and kind of being the bottom feeder and kind of every step he takes. Took a big leap, joined Army Academy where he's at now. So obviously there's a lot of learning, a lot of experience, and I'm not too sure if you guys know what his plan is after school, but that's a big commitment for somebody to make to join the military, and to obviously play Division I hockey as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's always loved the idea of the military. And, this is how naive I was. I didn't even know that the military academies had a D1 hockey program. When we found out they did, it was like icing on the cake.
Yeah.
But I think the discipline he learned going through some of the teams he was on, because that's the other thing. Like, there's set plays and plans that these coaches in this league have. And there's a lot of studying. People don't realize that you have playbooks that you have to study and learn and, absorb. And if you're not understanding it, you're not playing.
Right.
So that really showed him how to become that disciplined player and to set priorities in his life. And, to spend a time on Saturday night, yeah, you're not going out with your friends. You need to, study up. And I think that's really resonated to his successes in the military. And I wouldn't have appreciated that. I mean, I just know the coaches he had are phenomenal coaches, and they really instilled that work ethic.
I've been in this league a long time, so correct me if I'm wrong, but Dan Wildfond was one of his coaches.
Yeah.
And I know Dan could be, similar to an Army drill sergeant, I think. So I definitely prepared him probably for the military lifestyle for sure.
100%. I owe a lot to Dan and what he does. And at the time you're like, oh my God, this is craziness. But it's really impacted my son in such a positive way.
Right. Let's talk about this move now. Last season, you guys in Wichita Falls. This year in Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma Warriors. Talk about that transition and how awesome it's been, and how the reception has been by the fans. From what I've seen, it's been pretty much sold out every game. I believe you guys had Matt Stafford or somebody out there, or excuse me.
We did our grand opening, yeah,
which is awesome. But just talk about how the city is just taking this in full force.
Well, it was hard when you start anywhere new. Even though we had an entity, you're still starting new. People in the area really don't know you. So you always have the beginning issues of trying to start all over again. But Oklahoma has a tradition of hockey, and they have a relatively large youth program that's already been there, the Oil Kings Youth Organization, and they've been there for years. And they're growing from a learn to skate, learn to play program all the way through U18. There's over 500 kids enrolled in all of that. So they kind of had a built-in hockey base already when we got there. And it was just doing things the right way. And, we have our skaters going out to all their tiny little kids' practices and stuff. And I think that that's really helped. I believe in giving back. We're not just there for entertainment, but we need to, help grow the sport of hockey. And so we're real big on that. And so we're out in the community doing that, and they're present in a lot of community service things. And so the city's really responded. And, honestly, I give a lot of credit to our fans in Wichita Falls, because we get a lot of fans still coming to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 2-hour drive, and we have season ticket holders who are Wichita Falls fans. And so that's been, a great source too. I mean, it's just great knowing that we've touched so many people's lives. And it's continuing to grow, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And, we're really wanting to make an impact in Oklahoma and grow the sport of hockey. It's such a fun sport.
Yeah.
And, I didn't know anything about it until I started watching, and it's not like watching golf, or
Masters is on.
yeah, our race car. I mean, I guess there's a big that, but it's fast. And junior hockey, like in college, there's no fighting.
Right.
In juniors, it's a source of providing that spark of energy.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so it's great. It's growing, and hopefully we'll get even bigger.
Yeah, especially up there, such a football and wrestling state too. So
huge football with OU and OSU.
Yeah.
You're talking to a Cornhusker right now.
There you go. So we do have that challenge. It's not like a smaller city where you're really the only sport in town.
Right.
But I still believe if you do things the right way, you're gonna get the fans coming out. So
Well, I mean, winning obviously helps, gets the fans in the building. You guys have done, amazing this year, regular season champions, South Division champions for the regular season. I guess, what would you say, in your opinion, attributes to that success the most? I mean, you got great coaches. Garrett Roth's been around for a long time. You've got a great group of core players that started with you guys in Wichita Falls in that inaugural season. Now, they're 20, 21-year-olds, playing their final seasons. What you put all that together, you got a winning formula.
Yeah, I think it really does come to the heart of the coaching staff. As a parent going through all of this, I did learn one critical lesson is to not interfere with the coaches. So, I kind of let Garrett, run the hockey side. And the only thing I ever told him was, just don't start off 0-20. We might have a conversation if that happens, but as long as we're more on the winning side, because I want to win, then we're good. So he does pretty much run the whole hockey ops the way he sees fit. And the other thing I also tell him is, if you're going to spend my money, then I need to know about it ahead of time. You don't have an unlimited budget there, bud, but he's just probably the most phenomenal human being and coach I have ever known. I mean, he's so incredibly patient with the players, and he genuinely cares. And I think that's what makes a difference. And like you said, we've had kids who are been on our roster since day one, and they've chosen to stay in our league. They had opportunities to go to a tier 1 program, and they chose to stay. And that says a lot about Garrett as a coach. I don't have that much interaction with the players, but I think the players he chooses, they'll cut off their right arm for each other. And that shows on the ice. He has the ability to get the right character kid, and it just bonds on and off the ice. And I think his patience and his ability to find that one skill level of a certain player and mesh it together with another player, and that's an art. Not just to say, oh, well, this is a skilled kid, he can dangle, but how to match that kind of a player with another player on a line, right? Because that doesn't always work that way.
Right.
Every coach has their own formula and system of what works, and it is an art. And to be able to have that patience and work through the challenges of a long season, you've got injuries, you've got emotional ups and downs of players. And, this time of year you have I'm an age out, I don't have that commitment yet. That's a work in progress. And so I think he's just extremely gifted at being able to manipulate all those situations and come up with a winning formula.
Definitely.
I'm blessed to have him.
Yeah.
Mark, when he talks about all of our owners and how great they are at, how they take this financial risk every year to give all these players an opportunity. I mean, we hear it, but us that aren't actually risking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not going to ask, but like, you guys have this opportunity to give all these guys, like you said, your son got this chance to play junior hockey, get a Division I commitment, and now you're in that phase of trying to give back almost to the game and to the community. What does that mean to you? I mean, like you said, your son got it. You saw how it was an impact on him. What does it mean to you to be able to give that opportunity every year to these kids that are trying to do what your son did?
That's why I do it, because when you have a kid, and a lot of kids are equally qualified to make it to that next step, right? And there's only so many spots for each player. And some just need a chance to be seen. How many times do you hear, oh, this kid's just as equal, but he just needs a chance. And so when we can take a kid who's been, a bubble kid who's really talented, but just hasn't been seen, and, we can expose them. And, our league does really well with having, NHL guys, even that high end college D1 guys coming to our games. And that's what I found just impressive as a mom going through it. Like, wow, all these scouts are here. This is crazy. And so when you have the one kid who's been going through year after year and not really getting that attention, and all of a sudden he's getting these schools looking at him and he gets his D1 commitment, wow, it almost brings me to tears. And those are the moments that just make this worthwhile and special, and all the hardships you go through. That's what I love. And, my husband's like, well, why? I'm like, well, because you don't understand how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
I was in anesthesia, and there was nothing in anesthesia that made me feel quite the same way as being able to help somebody who is just like your own kid. So I feel like all 21 players are in a way my son, and I'm trying to help these kids the way I would my own son. And maybe that's kind of the difference maker for me. It's a little bit more relatable because I've been through it. I know what it's like. I know the downsides of it and all the crying weeks that we've had and shared. I know what these parents and kids are going through. And so when they can get their, D1 commitment, wow, that's just brings me so much joy. And the whole organization just sees it. And I think we feel it. We share in everyone's successes.
Yeah. You're a mom to 20 some odd kids every single season.
Exactly, right? I've been through it all. I mean, I know what they're going through. And some of the kids now, I know exactly how they're feeling. And so you just work that much harder. You want to try to get them what they so deserve. And I think that's maybe the woman thing, because I really understand what they've been through, and so you care. And when you care enough, I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say, sorry, Brandon, to cut you off there, but like, there's always those kids that kind of come in, say they came in this year and they get that D1 deal in like a month or two because they're just really talented. They got it, whatever. Then you've got, like, especially with the new team, or newer team, I should say, you've got kids in your roster that have been there, like you said, since day one, that maybe right at this moment don't have that D1 deal, but when it does come through, maybe in a month or two, I mean, that's got to be, to see that whole maturation process go, from where they were to where they are now, like, that's got to be just incredibly uplifting.
Oh my gosh, I can't even begin to tell you how that is. And people think, oh my gosh, we're in April, I'm never going to get it. But colleges commit, this late, even through June.
Yeah.
And part of the delay is, the post-grad year. That's kind of put a hiccup in a lot of things, because colleges had to wait for those kids to make a decision for spots to open up. So, people have to be patient. It's easy for me to sit there and say, oh, you got to be patient. But that's what it takes. But to see a kid come in from day one and watch them progress year after year, you see how they progress in their game, in their maturity level, and in their patience on and off the ice. And they grow into these young men who you're so proud of. And when they get that commitment, wow, it makes everything just that much more worth it. It makes all the struggles you go through just seem like nothing, because you've helped those kids in their path. And we've had that happen on, through every year, kids, because, we recruit all different ages. So you may have a kid who's in their last year, your first year doing it, and you help that kid out who hasn't had a commitment. Those are the special ones. That's what really makes it special for me.
Yeah. speaking of special, you guys are having a special season as we've mentioned a few times, but just talk about this team and what's kind of different from years past. Obviously, first time in history of being the best team in the league in the regular season is a big something to tip your cap to, but just kind of go on about this season so far.
We've had a pretty remarkable success, and, I don't know if I've really done anything to help with that. I feel like I just am the contributing, supporting cast member, really, and I think really it goes back to Garrett and his ability to blend and mold and look for just the right pieces that make everything work. And, it still goes back to character and quality of the kids. And the one thing I told them, and you may have the most talented kid on the team, but if he doesn't blend in with what your philosophies are and is just not quite buying into the system of the team, it's not going to work. And, the kids have really just responded to Garrett. And, I give him all the credit of having this work in progress. And we've been blessed. I mean, we've made playoffs every single year, even our first year. And I that's completely 100% on the coaching staff and his commitment to live and breathe hockey all the time. He is extremely committed to his trade and craft, and it shows. So I can't take credit for any of that, really. I mean, it's really all the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And the day he leaves, I think I'm just going to cry and just bury my head in the sand, I don't know.
Get out there, get on the bench.
My job is to make sure he doesn't go anywhere. So
right.
We ask kids this all the time, but I guess we've never really asked an owner this. I don't want to, get ahead of myself. Obviously, the playoffs are a whole different animal. But I mean, what do you think being able to win a Robertson Cup would mean to you, your family, and that organization?
Oh my God. I never really thought that we could attain something so reachable so soon. And it's almost like it's like it's out there, because it's almost unbelieving that we're kind of in striking range, so to speak. But then you don't want to get ahead of yourself, right? Because every game, every period on the ice counts. And so you have that dream. Everyone wants that dream of winning it. I can't even begin to imagine what that would feel like. It almost seems like it's so far away, but people are talking about it and bringing it up. And, there's only one way to fall when you're at the top, and that's downward. So I don't want to experience that feeling, but I guess you have to have hardships to be able to rise from it. And, this team has gone through a lot. Having to start over again in less than 3 years, I think we've had a lot of hiccups and bumps that maybe has prepared us to be able to, reach something. So, the prize that everybody wants. And I can't even imagine what that would feel like. I guess if we win it, you can ask me then. I don't know.
Well, one more for you before we let you loose. You kind of mentioned whether it was your husband or some of your friends or something like that called you crazy for wanting to own a team. We don't think you're crazy. Side note, not at all. But how long do you see yourself doing this?
Oh my gosh. I just get such a sense of satisfaction. I guess when, we do have Alzheimer's in my family, as I age, if I start, repeating myself and just not remembering anything, maybe that's the time I need to kind of back away. But as long as I've got my brain functioning and I'm healthy, and it's that there is no end in sight. I just love it too much. My goal is to just grow the sport in Oklahoma, and make Oklahoma a destination for hockey. Right now it's more football, like you said. If I could swing that tide a little bit in the hockey side favor, wow, we've accomplished something really spectacular. And that's really what I want to do. If I can do that in my lifetime, then that would be pretty satisfying.
Love that. Love it. Anything else?
Well, I was going to say you guys have accomplished so much already, and it's only, we're not even done with year 3 yet. So, I mean, the sky's the limit really at this point.
I hope so. I mean, I really want people to consider Oklahoma as a place to play. I mean, it's so close to Dallas. We have the Dallas Stars right here. It's just a 2.5 hour drive up 35, that painstaking highway. But I drive it all the time, trust me. But if we can do that in this state, it's reachable, and I think we can expand it and expand the footprint of really high-end hockey. And that's my goal. And I really, really want that to happen. And so it's a process, and it's only our first year here, and we'll just take baby steps. I'm patient. It does take patience to be in this sport, especially honestly as a woman. I have to call 100 times more than probably a guy would to get somebody to return my call. I mean, that's just how it is. But I'm persistent, I don't say no. So, you just keep calling and keep, knocking on doors, and, hopefully we'll find that success. And my goal is to grow the sport, like I said, and represent the North American League as best as we can.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome stuff. And thank you first off, or again, for joining us here on our podcast. Looking forward to some big things from you guys the rest of the year.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I want to thank Marianne again for hopping on the podcast with us, and wishing the Oklahoma Warriors good luck as they finish out the regular season and then heading into the postseason. So some pretty cool stuff there. Obviously growing the sport of hockey in a pretty football and wrestling dominated market and state overall is pretty cool feat for her.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that organization really takes shape over the next couple of years. Obviously, like you mentioned in the interview, I mean, every game is pretty much a sellout, so we know they're enjoying the entertainment down there. And obviously, for a long time, they didn't lose at home, so
Right.
definitely some home ice advantage going on down there. Let's see if it continues in the postseason.
Got some notes. Vinny's got his handy dandy notebook ready to go. Drop it on me.
Yeah, we've got a couple of notes around the league. The Mountain Kings, the New Hampshire Mountain Kings, the latest team announced in the North American Hockey League, have named head coach. Cam Robichaud will be the head man there. He was a coach in the NA3HL for some time with the Lewis and Auburn Nordiques back in the day. They went to the Fraser Cup final where they lost to the Texas Brahmas. So he's got a little championship experience, but he's been around the league for quite a bit. He knows the ins and outs, and obviously he helped with the Maine Nordiques team in their inaugural season quite a bit. So he knows how to deal with brand new teams in the league. So I think that's a really good hire for them. Yeah, really good dude too. And then we've got some NHL signings, a couple NHL alums. We got Minot's Andre Pavel signed a 2-year entry-level contract for the next 2 seasons. He's going to do a professional tryout contract with the Colorado Eagles for the rest of this year. But he played for Minot, scored probably arguably the biggest goal in Minot Minotoro's history back in the 2018 Roberts Cup playoffs, Game 3 of the Roberts Cup semifinals. He scored in overtime to send them to the championship game in one of the best games I've seen in my time in the NHL, to send them to the championship game where they eventually lost to Shreveport 2-1. But he got them there. So like I said, probably the biggest goal in team history.
Yeah.
Then we've got a couple other alums signing contracts. Mitchell Gibson signed a contract with the Capitals. He was with Lone Star. He tied the league record for shutouts in a season with 11. Got drafted in the 4th round in Dallas, so right next to where he played his junior hockey. So that was pretty cool. And here we are 5 years later, and he's finally signing that deal. He had a good time at Harvard, I guess. He was doing good things there. And then I'll let you do this last one since it's your boy, former Topeka Pilots netminder, signing an NHL deal.
Jakub Dobis, my son. Not really. Jakub Dobis, signing a deal with Montreal Canadiens. He's currently with Laval right now, the Rockets, AHL affiliate team. I believe it was a 2-year deal, correct?
Yep.
So yeah, actually, right when I saw that, shot him a FaceTime, and he's like, oh, like all excited and stuff like that, which is funny because right when he got drafted, when we were both with Omaha, I FaceTimed him right when he got drafted too, and he's like, oh my god, he's like, I gotta go, my mom's calling. So I think I'm gonna my claim to fame is I FaceTimed him when he got drafted before his mom did. Granted, she's in Czech Republic and I was watching it live, so a little bit of a time difference, but
yeah, she might have been asleep. I
might have been definitely asleep or trying to get a call through while some dumb broadcasters talking to her kid. But yeah, good stuff. Pretty excited for him. So yeah, obviously, congrats to Dobis. It was pretty cool. When we had a thing out in Ann Arbor, went and saw him live. Ohio State guy there, or where he played college. But congrats to him. Congrats to all the NA alumni moving on and continuing up the ladder development into the professional world of hockey. So a lot of big things to come from a lot of our guys, and can't be more proud.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they evolve in their hockey career, especially the goalies, because we're known as a goalie league.
Right.
Goalies take a very long time to develop, and some of them definitely, Connor Hellebuyck obviously is the first thing that comes to mind, but some of them go on to be Vezina Trophy winners, and
Right.
maybe some of the winningest American goalies of all time.
Right.
No big deal, right? Like, so
Whatever.
I mean, interested to see how the careers pan out for sure. Especially, I will say with Gibson too, because he played my first year in the league, and I was there when he got drafted. Like, I was in the stands with him, and he's just the nicest kid. He's a really good dude. So I'm really looking forward to what he can do in Washington.
Yeah, and looking forward to the draft coming up in June as well, down in Nash Vegas. So
Vegas.
Some of the league folk will be down there. Coaches and everything. I believe it's the 29th, 28th, 29th of June. But yeah, obviously congrats to all our guys. Hopefully we can see two alumni going at each other again. Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals, double overtime, Pat Maroon versus Ben Bishop. Not a big deal, go Blues. But just one off the cuff that I really just pulled out of nowhere. Not that I watched the highlights yesterday and got emotional, but anyways, yeah. So good stuff. Hopefully we see some cool stuff like that down the line.
Yeah, you always get emotional about your Blues run in 2019. As a Sabres fan, does it ever go away? Does that one moment of glory, does it ever fade?
Whenever I'm in like a down mood and I need to just turn it around quick, I just put on the highlights of the Stanley Cup final game 7, then just nothing but smiles.
Everything feels a lot better after that.
When I'm feeling blue, I watch the Blues, and then I'm not blue anymore. Or I'm more blue.
That
If you can see all the pucks over here, actually I found a new one at a store. I got all sorts of blue stuff back here, but whatever. That's for a different time.
This is another. Hey, you know what? Episode 10, we got a little off the rails there, but hey, you know what? We got the 10, double digits, 10, made it.
10. We're close to our mark of what we wanted to do, but not really.
well, we're gonna have a lot. We're gonna have a lot more. Well, not a lot more, but we'll have a lot more coverage of the playoffs coming up as well as we get into that. We'll probably our next podcast be right before the playoffs start, so we'll maybe make some predictions.
I can get behind that.
You and I have a good time making predictions, so we'll have to do that.
We'll phone in our special analyst too of Alex Curious from across the office.
Ooh, yes.
Curious's Corner is what we're gonna call it.
I like it.
Yep. We'll see what he's got.
All right. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, episode 10 finally in the books after that rant of
Check
nothing.
it off.
Check it off. We're in the double digits. But yeah, obviously keep tuned in on NHL TV, powered by Hockey TV. Catch all the action this weekend, starting tomorrow night. Again, we're recording here on Thursday. So Friday night stuff will kick off, and it's anybody's game.
Playoffs. Can't wait.
Playoffs. It's playoffs. Playoffs. All right. Episode 10 in the books. Thanks for tuning in.